Andre, I appreciate you taking this time to have a chat with me, share your thoughts, your experiences. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself formally?
Yeah, my name is Andre King. I live in the Fort Worth area of Texas. I'm in my mid 40s and I've been here a little over half my life. I'm from the East Coast originally, born in the Bronx in New York City,
Okay.
lived in Connecticut as well. And I'm a Texan now. I got here as quick as I could. So I've been in lending. Now this is my 8th year, really technically going into 9 years. I used to work for a bank, Wells Fargo, big bank. And I didn't need to be licensed at that time. Got licensed later. And so, I'm now with Loan Factory. We're both with Loan Factory. It's a great broker, one of the biggest in America right now, growing like crazy. And so, that's a little bit about me, just my work history and stuff like that. I'm married, got 3 kids, and we've closed the factory down. We shall have no more. So it's what you see is what you get. But yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Wow. I've been talking to you for at least 8 months. And I didn't know that so you used to work in the banking industry in Wells Fargo, and then you decided I want to do this solo, this broker model. What's that like? Is that correct?
Yeah, so the Wells Fargo piece actually happened years ago. I got into banking. I was a personal banker for Wells Fargo. Then I switched over to being a business banker. I got promoted. And I
Okay.
saw the mortgage guy and he was making all the money. And I'm like, I could do that. That's easy. And I tried it for 8 months and I hated it. It was horrible. I had no support system. It was during a refinance boom. So there was no one to mentor me. And after about 8 months, I just threw in the towel, man. It was pretty rough. And so I jumped out the industry for a number of years. And a good friend of mine reached out and he was a branch manager with a correspondent lender. And he was like, listen, man, you've been on my heart, man. You need to come back into the mortgage industry. And I was like, dude, I tried that. And this is not for me. And he goes, no, I'm going to mentor you. I'm going to take you under my wing. I'm going to help you get licensed and then, go from there. So he did that. He brought me over and I was at a desperate time. I had jumped to a meaningless job after meaningless job. And so I said, you know what, at this point, what do I have to lose? And it turned into a career. I mean, he took me under his wing, taught me the ropes, had me as a lead caller for, about a year. And I learned how to speak to clients. We used to dissect the client, relationship after, how do you read a credit report? And he took me through the basics. So, that's why with Loan Factory now, I'm a mentor. And part of it is because I've been there and I know how hard it is. It's tough to get into the industry. So
100%. A lot of people don't know, but it's actually faster to become a licensed loan officer than it is to be a realtor. And being a loan officer has a lot of parts, like he mentioned, the credit, what is AUS, then you go by individual loan programs. And give me 1 second. Sorry about that. And the difficult thing is so many loan programs, you're looked at as the expert, almost to be equal. You should understand the loan programs the same as an underwriter. Which an underwriter went to school, they got all this formal training, and loan officers don't. Go sell these programs. That's really what you get. And, it's on to you to read them and understand them. And I did notice that a lot of loan officers that work in the call center or the correspondent, that's exactly what they do. They don't know much of the program. They just know the key points, and then they sell the dream.
Absolutely.
Then once they got the application, they just toss it over to the next department and they keep going. Yeah. Meanwhile, on the broker side, right, the small shop, we kind of do everything. We got to know how to pre-underwrite it in a sense. We need to know how the credit report works, right? There's not as much handoff we could do, which is good for the customer. They get a better deal. But for someone new in the industry, it's a lot to take on, a lot of responsibility. And
that's a good point. You said a couple of things that totally agree with. Pre-underwriting, that's essentially the job of a loan officer.
Yeah.
We pre-underwrite the file, right? We make sure this pre-qualification should be a pre-underwritten file, to where I take it, I've checked the income, I've checked these assets to make sure they have enough money to actually close on this home, and I've checked their credit. And based off of that and my expertise, I believe I have a deal here, and I'm able to take this over to the underwriter with confidence that, bar some crazy experience, we should be to get this thing to the closing table. And you're right, on the correspondent side, they kind of shelter you to where you only see one aspect of the loan process. And when you get to the broker side, it's like your head is lifted up and you see like, oh, wow. And you get to see like the wires and how this thing works. And so, yeah, when I came over to the broker side, I learned how to process a loan. I learned from, how to order a verification of employment and how to do all these different things that are the back end, the operation side of the loan. I know you know from experience the same thing. You have a similar trajectory, and coming over. So it's a lot more, like, to your point, it's a lot more, the benefit to the client is that you and I have control over the entire process.
Yep.
Which means we can get the loan done a whole lot quicker with a lot less hoops to jump through. Yes. Because we're overseeing the entire process.
That's right. There's not a lot of handoff. Yes, some of us have processors, some of us don't, but that's pretty much, they're our assistant, really, helping us with the administrative, but it's not like so many departments in a retail or a bank where it's like it has to hit Sally's desk, then Jim, then Brian, then Julie, then it comes back to me. Not like, there is so much control you have on a loan, but on the broker side, we are able to close a lot quicker and provide better pricing. I actually learned that. It's a little biased, but when I got my license, my NMLS license, the teacher was pro broker.
Oh, wow.
So when she went over, you could be in the bank, you could be a credit union, you could work commercial, you could be a retail LO, you could be a broker. She was like, if you want to make the most, go be a broker.
Yeah.
Like, that's where you're making the most money. That's where you have the most control and the more flexibility. You're the boss.
Yeah.
So that was
that's real good, man. I had the opposite experience. And, in the correspondent world, they would just tell you, you don't want to be a broker. It's so much work. You got to do all this extra stuff. And here we have an in-house underwriter. We have an in-house processor. We'll take care of all of it for you. Don't worry about it. What they don't tell you is we're going to pay you peanuts to do these loans because, again, they have all this overhead. The other thing they don't tell you is that their rates are a lot worse because they have all this overhead. They have to keep the lights on at the brick and mortar shop. They have to pay their processors who are salary employees. They have to pay their underwriters as well. They have compliance and HR, et cetera, et cetera. And so, and like any other business, they don't eat that cost. They roll it over to you, the end consumer.
The consumer. That's true.
Yeah, and they pay.
And I never knew that. A lot of people don't even know that's happening, that there's actually a difference working with a broker versus an actual direct lender. A lot of direct lenders, throw us under the bus. I don't think it's very professional. I don't think it looks good talking about, a certain lender or maybe their style of business. At the end of the day, I think your credibility, the way you treat people will speak. But being a broker, you have that control, right? If the interest rates absolutely suck at XYZ, I'm going to ABC or FEG, whatever is the name of the bank. I'm able to control the situation for my client. Or if they say no here, where can I go where they'll say yes? Because some of these guidelines, people think it's black and white, but it's really a lot of interpretation. So a lot of times I feel like, an attorney and then the underwriter is the judge and the guidelines are the law. You're trying to, underwriter, what if this and this happened? What do you think about that?
Good point.
A lot of correspondent lenders or direct lenders, you only have one guy. And when he says go, he's the boss. But when you have so many people across the country, everybody's risk tolerance is different. Yeah. And that's what gets people into houses.
100%, 100%. And then just like anything else, when you have competition, if you have competition between businesses, who wins? It's the consumer who wins. Just think about it. So if you have, if it's like here in a small town I live in here in Texas, we moved out here about a year and a half ago. There's one little supermarket. You can't even call it a supermarket, right? It's a shop. And so you go to this shop and everything is more expensive. It can be more expensive than you find in the Walmart in the nearest city. Because again, in the nearest city, there's a whole bunch of competition. You got Walmart, you got the Super Target, you got Kroger, you got this, you got that. Down there you got Publix, right? And that creates competition, which
Yep.
they have to bring their prices down to give the client the best option. Well, here at Loan Factory, we work with over 200 different lenders. And not only, like to your point, I've had several deals, actually probably a half a dozen, maybe more deals recently that you've had to go, you know what, this particular underwriter is viewing this through their lens. And they're saying, this is the way I'm interpreting it, and we're sticking with it. Or they have an overlay. They add their own requirement on top of the guideline that
Yeah.
FHA or Fannie or Freddie
People don't
ask
even know
for.
that's the thing.
They don't even know that's the thing.
And the sad thing is they don't know to go to somewhere else. They just say, oh, that's if he says that, everyone's gonna say that. Or she says
right.
that, that's just what it is. And that's not the case.
Yeah. Especially like on the correspondence side, to your point, when the underwriter said it, it was like, Mr. Underwriter, please do this. If they say no, it's dead. I have nowhere else to go. There's no other option. But here we can pivot. We can go, you know what? They don't like it, but I've got 10 more lenders that love this deal. Let's switch it. And we could still make our close date if we do it quick enough.
100%. So what drove you specifically into the financing sector? You mentioned, you jumped a lot of different jobs. That's a symptom there of I'm trying to find something purposeful, something impactful. Yeah, I want to make money, but you can make money working overtime.
So
what triggered you to be like, I'm gonna try that? You got into banking, and then it just kept growing. I kind of want to stay in this sector. How did you get into the financing sector, and then how do you start transitioning? You mentioned you saw somebody in the finance doing mortgages making well, and then you quit after you followed suit. But something about it made you want to come back. So how did you get into financing, and then what made you stay? Once you already quit, why did you stay? And now it's been many years. What has made you successful?
I just want to say, I think you have a future in this interviewing thing, because that's a really good question. Just saying. No, but what happened was I was working in sales for probably 10, 15 years before that. I started off with Verizon Wireless. That was my first real sales job. I was in customer service before that, completely on the phones, doing it. And I was like, this sales thing is going to be easy. I jumped into sales and I knew nothing. I was so nervous in front of clients. My palms are sweaty, couldn't talk to people. I thought I had to be something that I wasn't.
Right.
But they had a great training organization and some of the best in the country, and they taught me sales. And so through some things, they changed the comp plan and stuff like that. I ended up leaving there, and I thought I could just get another job real quick. And it was during a downtime in the economy. It's 2008, 2009-ish, where everything kind of went down. So I didn't see that coming. And a good friend of mine who used to work for Verizon, he went over to Chase, and he was like, hey, come to banking. It's nice. It translates well to what we were doing. So I went over, and at Chase, for whatever reason, I made it to the last interview. They denied me. And I'm a man of faith, just like you are. And so, my wife and I were praying like, okay, which way do we go from here? And this door with Wells Fargo opened up. It didn't pay as well as a Chase job, but at this point I just needed a job, and I jumped into it. And so finance, and the thing that interested me in finance, like even growing up, I used to love playing Monopoly growing up. Everybody else in the family would be bored, like, oh, it's 3 hours. And I'm like a geek. I'm like, yeah, I love this stuff. I just love finance. I just love dealing with money. I love the negotiation part of it, all of it. And so being a banker was a taste of it, but you're still an order taker for the
100%.
bank.
You're an employee.
You're an employee.
Needs to know basis.
100%. 100%. And so I tasted it. I could see these different aspects of CD. How did that work? How do checking accounts work? I'm approving things. I'm going back there with the tellers. I have a level of authority. I'm approving their transactions, stuff like that. But it kind of got boring. Once you learn it, you're like, there's nothing more to it. The business banker, I was like, it's a promotion. Open some other stuff up. I got to see businesses, how they work, a little bit of LLCs, S Corp, stuff like that. Gives you, And then the mortgage guy, I was sending him so many leads. He was taking me out to lunch every other week, it seemed like. And I'm thinking, if you're taking me out to lunch this much, you must be making some good money. And so we talked, and he tried to discourage me from it. He's like, you have no idea how hard this is. But if you want to do it, he lost a lead source. and then I jumped. It was just the timing. The timing wasn't right. It was that. I realized it wasn't the job itself I didn't like. It was like, going back to your point, this was like unlike any other job I've ever done. So where you jump in, you pass a test. And it, by the way, hardest test I've ever taken in my life, passing that test. And I passed it the first time after studying for weeks. Passed it the first time. And I came out and I'm like, yes. Then I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing right now. No other job like that. You know, it just qualifies you to enter the race. That's all it does. It doesn't teach you the race. It just qualifies you to run. That's all. You know, so, but yeah, on this side, I realized the things that I wanted that I was missing on the banking side, I can actually do over here. They're talking the real numbers, being a consultant to my clients to like let them know, hey, have you considered X, Y, and Z? And then realizing it's not just sales, but it marries like what I love about sales with this aspect of helping people and seeing someone's dream come true. It's addictive, man. It's, you get to the closing table and you see someone, and it could be the hardest loan that you've ever gone through. You get to the closing table, they hug you. Hey, we should go out to dinner after this. And you see the tears. I'm sorry, I was frustrated. And it's just a beautiful thing, you know? So.
Yeah, it's something that it speaks to me the same way. Everything you're saying is exactly, I align with that so much. What you're telling me, how I'm receiving is education, the constant learning of challenging yourself. It drives you. And when you're working at the banking and all that, it's like you mastered it. I could do this in my sleep, and you actually hated that. Most people are like, oh, once I figure it out, I could just, go on autopilot, clock out. You're not wired that way. You're wired to improve. Like you need to, you feel that hunger. I'm the same way. When I became a loan officer, I realized I don't stop learning every single day. And when I was with my previous broker, I'm now with you in Loan Factory, they were awesome. They had a lot of experience and they were still learning. So that opened my eyes very quickly. I was like, oh, if they've been doing it 20 years and they're still learning, I have a lot to learn. I need to play catch up. So this industry is for the person that wants to continue to grow, who's a deal maker, deal structurer, and isn't looking for a routine. And a lot of people are programmed for routine. So this is why there's a high failure rate in the mortgage industry. Why there's such little mortgage brokers is because they're so used to routine. They're used to being told what to do. They're used to the procedures, the procedures, but now they have to create them, or they have to understand them, and they need to know how to make exceptions or be able to elaborate or articulate on a high level when they never 100%. Had to. If somebody else, they were able to delegate that, like I said, with correspondent, delegate that to Susie. She knows how to read that. She knows what that means. No, you have to. So the process is look at me, the underwriter looks at me, the closing agent looks at me, the realtor, the listing agent, the title. That's a big change from any job. And all you need is one little license.
Yeah.
That you can do in 22 hours.
Well, I mean,
so,
the other
go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to tell you the other thing that you're saying is you're also based in the community. So you're the expert, your community, you know the inner workings, like, you're in Florida, you guys just went through the hurricane. You understand, have your finger on the pulse of that community more than anybody else. And as a broker, you have that. Correspondent lending, a lot of times, my underwriter's way over somewhere else. We might have the same thing over here, but at the end of the day, you're dealing with me. You're not dealing with my underwriter. You're not dealing with my processor necessarily. You're dealing with me, and so, like you said, the control of the process. And I think that besides all those other things that we do as brokers, we have a vested interest in just the community. That's the main thing. We're local, we're touchable. So I'll give you an example. I had a client reach out to me via Facebook, and this was last week. And she sends me a message on Messenger. You know how it pops up on Messenger, like, this person's not in your contacts. And I'm like, who is this? She goes, I need a reverse mortgage. I said, okay, can you recommend me somebody? This and that. So anyway, I got with someone here at Loan Factory. And by the way, there's 1,500 of us here at Loan Factory, loan officers, and growing every day.
Yeah.
And I reached out to someone who I'd met at an event we had. And such a great connection. She's an expert on reverse mortgages. And so because of that, I was able to connect. So we did a Google Meet call and we all got on the call. And the first thing I asked her name is Liz. I go, hey, Liz. I said, how do we know each other? And she goes, about a year ago, you moved into this town where I'm at and you posted, hey, I'm a mortgage broker. I'm local to the community. And she goes, I never forgot it. And I sent you that message.
Wow.
Those are the type of things.
Wow. That's
right?
crazy.
She's not dealing with Wells Fargo. And what does that even mean? She's not dealing with Chase. She's dealing with André, right? And that's the difference.
100%. Again, we're not name dropping. Those are fantastic, corporations and entities. But relative to what he's speaking, the personability, the bigger something is, the more difficult it is for them to be more involved and more willing to invest time into finding a way to make it work. Because the bigger you get, the more money you're burning just to sustain, like Andre was saying. And, if it doesn't work, hey, drop it, next person. With us, again, because we're smaller, we don't have as much cost. Every deal matters to us. Every family matters to us. So we're going to look up, down, left, right, triangle, square, like every option until it's like, well, all we can do is wait. Let's do this. And we give you the plan. So going back into, your career, you've been doing it now for a few years. What do you expect to do as a loan officer or to be in the next 5 years? What type of impact are you perceiving to complete?
So, I mean, it's a kind of open-ended question. It's a big one. For me right now, this transition of my career is I'm finding myself not just originating, not just doing loans, but mentoring. That's important for the next generation because, like you're saying, unfortunately, there are not a lot of people running to become loan officers like before. Mm-hmm. It's tough out there, and especially in the market we're in with these rates. I heard someone describe it like rates are kind of like a ladder, or better than the ladder. It's like almost like you've been in those buildings where you go up the steps in the building.
Sure.
You're in that side door. You go on the steps in the building, then you go around, and there's a flat point. Then you go up the next set of stairs, and there's another flat point.
Yep.
All right. So rates are kind of like that. It's either you're going up those stairs or you're going down those stairs. And so it's not that rates are going up or going down. There's a trend of them going up, and there's a trend of them going down. And over the last couple of years, the trend is that they've been going up. They go up, then they flatten. They stay there for a while, and everybody's like, what's it going to do? What's going to do? It's been going up, and it flattens. And so we're at a point to where it just went down and it flattened, and then it's kind of creeping up because of the uncertainty with the economy. So I think for right now, what I'm doing is really personally trying to get better at the fundamentals of my job. That's what it's taught me over these last couple of years. A few years ago during COVID, rates were so low. If you breathe and woke up in the morning, you had loans falling out the trees. You know what I'm saying? And now you can't do that. You have to actually be personable. You have to meet the people. You have to do all the things
value, that 100%.
And if you don't, you won't make it. And so
this is why call center LOs struggle. They're used to the calls coming in. And then these moments, like you're saying, it gets dry. They don't know how to outsource, how to build relationship, provide value, know the fundamentals.
Yeah.
They just filled in the blank line and then next.
Yes.
Being a mortgage broker, you know that from day one before, even in a good rate or a bad rate environment, only you are going to find the deals.
That's it.
They're not going to give you leads.
Exactly.
And if they give you leads, they're probably not good. That's why they're giving it to you instead of them taking it, the owner.
100%.
Okay. So you're pivoting more into a mentorship education role. You're wanting to provide all the shortcuts, all the things that you've learned over the years by either trial and error or other people sharing with you, you want to condense that information and help this next generation do better.
Yeah.
Get there faster.
Yeah.
Cut the fat off. Okay.
There you go. There you go. And the thing is, with that is it's a dual benefit. Obviously it's benefiting the next generation. It's benefiting them coming up. But in a selfish way, it's also benefiting me. And I'm not talking about financially. It's benefiting me because it continues my next step of growth, right? To where I'm able to, it's forcing me to learn answers to questions I don't know. Yeah. And like going back to your point, every day I learn something new in this industry. And that's I never really quite put it the way you put it. And I thought that was perfect. Part of this is always learning something new and always having that, like, you almost have to keep this like giddy expectation. I'm about to learn something new. It's going to be fun because it's challenging, but it's fun. And so there's that. But for my clients, I'm trying to really educate them. This is the thing that I think a lot of people don't realize. This is the way I see it. This is my opinion based off of my own experience. And I'm curious to hear your opinion. But I think what's going to happen is we have a few things going on. We got technology that's increasing like never before. We're having AI step in, and AI is going to be a game changer. I heard someone put it like this. I went to a conference recently, and they touched on AI, and they said that the person who was doing it was promoting their AI product. And they said that there are universities right now, Ivy League universities, providing courses and degrees to get you like a degree to help you with AI, courses specifically on AI. And they go, the problem with that is these courses are using information from 18 months ago, and AI is way past it already by the time they're presenting the information. Because AI by itself is learning and enhancing itself and getting better.
Constantly updated daily with news articles or scientific journals, whatever may be the subject. Yep.
There you go. And so the real question, the elephant in the room is it going to replace us eventually? And so for me, I think it's going to replace aspects of our job 100%. Yes. There's no question. Yeah. And I actually wanted to do that because the hardest parts of our job sometimes are like crunching numbers and guidelines and all that. AI, take care of it. I believe that's coming and coming quicker than we realize. But there are parts of our job that it can never replace. The human touch.
Yeah.
The establishing rapport, those kind of things. And that's where I'm really trying to develop myself communication skills, getting better, stronger, because it's the ones who continue to add value that will actually make it. That's what we've learned from COVID and all these other things that have happened. If you can't provide value, you have no place in this industry. So what are your thoughts?
No, yeah, I agree. I think, technology is advancing. I think it's making it easier. I have heard people say, will AI eliminate the loan officer position? I feel like in maybe certain business models it will, right? We already have like referral partners that are AI based, right? Referral lenders that they don't really have any employees. It's like you just submit the information and it tells you yes or no. But I do not believe that the entire lending industry will be that way. I don't think it can be. Here's a few things that are true. One thing is true is internet has been around for a long time. And information has always been free, right? You got the YouTube videos, you have Google, you have libraries. You can become an expert in any field. You can make $1 million and learn that for free without paying courses and without having a direct mentor. You could just buy all the author, the CDs, everything. You can rent it from the library. You can get a stream, somebody recorded it for free. And that's to say the same thing with AI, right? AI will be there, but I feel like there's a lot of people that don't know how to utilize it. They will never know how to utilize it, no matter how long it exists. And it's just, most of the entire world is underdeveloped. We get focused in America, we get focused in Europe, but they are actually a small percentage of the entire global population. And a lot of places still don't have light, still don't have clean water. And that is actually the normal. We are actually living really good. So if I'm looking past in the future, is technology going to take over my job? I think it's going to continue advancing us, and then it's going to bleed out to these other countries, and they're going to be what we were at, and we're going to be on another level. But I think loan officers would pivot because there's always going to be people that don't catch up, and they need someone, like you said, the human touch. To what does that mean? If I sign here, what does that say? Because they just don't trust, typing it in, or they don't like it.
That's good.
So I have that today. I have clients that are 20 years old, 18 years old, and I send them a link to apply, and they don't want to do it. But hey, can we do it over the phone? I really don't want to do it. It's not because they're lazy. It's because they're afraid to put the wrong information.
Yeah. And then to your point, sometimes it's like, how important it is just for someone to go, hey, Emanuel, you're doing it the right way, man.
Exactly.
Keep it. AI could never do that.
No.
It could never do that.
I mean, that's like saying, will AI replace a therapist? In the sense of therapists are here to help us grow, help us see a different perspective, help us, different exercise. Loan officer, same way. We not only give them information, we not only negotiate rates on their behalf financially as a fiduciary responsibility, but we also, like you just said, comfort them in moments of stress or uneasy. I don't know if I'm going to get the house. I don't know if it's worth it. I don't know where I'm going to get this money. And, they already exist, recorded, meditation and videos. Yep. These things always existed. And to this day, people go to a professional. It's the 100%. Same thing. I think the mortgage broker will adapt. I don't think we're going anywhere. I really have strong conviction that, like you said, those that provide value. And at the end of the day, people will always want that human element where 100%. They know they're doing the right things and that someone can just explain it a different way. Yep. And you can program AI, but at the end of the day, there's something, there's something deep about hearing somebody's voice, seeing them, touching them, and meeting them.
100%.
So
powerful,
those are my thoughts on that subject about AI. So Andre, you mentioned that you're a man of faith. How important is faith to you? Why? And then you are a business owner. Some people see faith needs to be separate from business. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think faith should be separate from business, or how does that affect you?
It's funny because, so I love Jesus, man. That's where I'm at, right? I'm a man of faith, and I do. And I can't, the thing I used to try to separate it in the beginning and just my career, because I'm like, yeah, that's over here and this is over here, and I have like these compartments. And because I didn't want to be fake, that's the way I looked at it. I didn't want to be fake. I didn't want to be too preachy. I didn't want to be whatever. But then I realized me doing that was actually being fake, and it wasn't being real with who I am. I can't separate my faith from me, just like I can't separate the fact that I'm African American or I'm a male, right? Like I can't separate any of that stuff from me. But my faith is even more core. Like for me, it goes deeper than my skin color. It goes deeper than me being a man. It's literally the core of who I am. Sometimes do I not do everything congruent with my faith and do it the way I'm still human. I'm still flawed. But it's my compass to always come back to and be like, nah, should be done like this because this is integrity. And so it really speaks to everything I do in business. My faith, making sure I'm doing it like from the standpoint of performing for an audience of one. What does God think about this? What I'm about to do? So that's where I'm at with it, man. At the same time, like my mentorship groups and stuff like that, everybody knows where I stand on my faith. I'm a Christian. I'm a believer, but I'm not pushing it on anybody else either. And hopefully by my example, they'll go, hey, what's that about? If they do, cool. If they don't, cool. But again, it's just me being me. So
yeah, I mean, I think that's a great way. I'm also a man of faith. I believe in Jesus Christ, Lord and Savior. And, he calls us to put seeds in people's hearts, right? And then those that will grow, right? There's parables in the Bible that talks about, the seed that grows in good soil, the seed that gets choked by the thorns, the seed that gets thrown by the rocks and never grows roots, the one that dries up in the desert, right? And that just comes to show that our job is really just to share, why it's real to us, why it's impactful, and then, show the Holy Spirit through our life and our choices, the way we speak, and the Lord will work. We don't really need to be combative. We don't need to treat other people different. If anything, Jesus was the opposite. Jesus never forced no one to follow him. He always made it optional. He says, hey, if you want to follow me, just, donate all your money, come follow me. Return everything you've taken from these people, and then come follow me if you want. If not, just go on your way. And that's the same way is, we want to help share the good news. That is what he has endowed on us. But, being combative and being forceful and making people feel little and, oh, I don't want to talk to them because we don't align. You have to be very careful, right? Because that's not what God called us to do. He called us to be light in the darkness, right? Not to be hidden. A lamp being hidden under, a table can't be seen. It needs to be on
That's good, man.
top. So I 100%, there's been situations where it's very obvious when I'm helping somebody take an application, they're sharing their life, and it's very obvious that, they're living in the darkness and sometimes very extremely, but my job is not to say I'm not going to help them get a house because they're not following the way of God. They're going to continue doing these bad things in that house. And am I being a part of it? These things can happen to anybody, if you think like that, but you have to think, no, this is the position God put me to be able to help them to the best of my ability. I'm doing it as if I was doing it for God. Like you said, the audience of one. And through me, they will see God work through my voice, my love, and then me sharing the word of God. These are the things that transform people's lives, not turning them away, say, oh, they don't fit the box. I don't work with that type of demographic. It's very dangerous, especially in our industry, right? That's called discrimination.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
I think that's really something that a lot of people get scared about, especially in a financial position. They don't want to seem like they're stereotypical or they won't help these certain type of clients. And that's actually the opposite. It should be that you want to help them the most because you get to have that intimate moment to help them in this moment. They need someone that's looking out for their best interest, and they can see God, how he transforms people's heart, that they're soft-hearted and that they want to help them. And God will work, right? We drop the seeds, and those that grow root, we nurture them, and those that don't, well, that's their choice. Exactly. So, I think that's really something beautiful. How would you say, you said how important faith is to you. How do you say it molds you? And then how does it shape your business now and in the future?
So from a practical standpoint, I start my day off. I'm in the Word, right? I open up the Bible. I usually have something that I'm reading. Like right now, I'm in the book of Ephesians. I'm reading that right now. But I also read the Proverbs of the day because Proverbs, every time I read it, and today's the 25th, so I read Proverbs 25, it just gives me some nugget of how to deal with people, situations. And I'm thinking, I'm actually going through something just like that right now. And I'll get that, spend some time in prayer. And I'm just asking God for wisdom on how to structure not just my day, how to deal with people, prepare me to deal with this person that comes up, because I'm about to be faced with 100 things that I had no idea was going to come on my plate today, but you knew about it. So prepare me for it. And so that's been a huge help, and just asking for guidance each step of the way. It doesn't mean that every time I'm in the middle of my day, I'm like, let me get down on my knees and pray. No, I prayed in the morning and I've asked him for a direction. I'm believing he's directing me. And so now, that's the influence there. But not only that, it's amazing because it's like I'm learning who to be connected to and who not to be connected to. That's a huge part of it. Who not to reject, but like who to deal with and who not to deal with. Going to your point though about the like who you I don't discriminate against anyone. Some of my best clients have been actually gay couples. They're phenomenal. Everything I needed, they gave it to me right on time. Perfect, on time. I was like, man, I want to clone you guys and make more because, best clients. Even my friend list on either Facebook or people who are my mentee group, it looks like the United Nations because that's me. You know, like I'm a black guy. My dad was Jamaican. I speak Spanish. It's everything that you can imagine. So I have someone in our group she's Vietnamese, and we have someone over here who's Haitian. And that's the way I grew up, and that's so everything about that. Yeah, I'm 100% with you on. But again, even that is based off of my faith. That's who Jesus was. That's who Jesus is. He accepts everyone. He doesn't put any stipulation on it. Like you said, the only stipulation is your response. If you want to come, come. If you don't want to come,
Yeah.
that's
I mean, you see it consistently. It's not just, in certain verses. I mean, even if you go all the way at the last book of the Bible, it talks about, he'll knock on the door, and those that open, he will come in and dine with them. And those that don't open, he doesn't barge in and force himself in. So I 100% agree. I have a lot of clients that's very obvious that, they may use substances, or they may be premarital, living together, coexisting. And if someone is, found in their faith, there's a lot of principles you learn in the Bible of, what is honoring God and what's not. Again, who are we in the sense of they don't know God? So those are not principles for them. So why would I measure them? Those are measurements for me and measurements of my brothers and sisters in Christ. They don't know the good news. So why would I hold them to that standard? So it's really contradictory when we have like a negative outlook on someone when they never even knew that was wrong. They never accepted Jesus as the Lord and Savior to be living in that direction. So yes, I 100% agree with what you were saying as well. Being a Christian, though I will serve and help all, how I spend my recreational time is also very sacred, right? If I have a different ideology or spirituality with somebody, and I'm not serving them or helping them, come in a better predicament, whether financial, spiritually, physically, whatever it may be, that recreational time should be to grow my spiritual life or the spiritual life of my family or spending a time with them. At that time, that's when a Christian's like, oh, that's darkness. I'm like, they don't want to receive the light, and if I stay there, the darkness will try me long enough where I become darkness.
That's balance.
There's
that's
a difference. I learned that definitely in the industry, where it's like, I want to be a light. How do I do that? And it was definitely took a few years, looking at the console of the consultations of my brothers in the faith, and then going to scripture, we come to what we're talking about today. We sow seed, we become light, but also there are certain times where we have to ravine from certain areas, from certain activities, from certain places, because nothing good is going to come of it.
100%.
Even at one time, Jesus, he would heal people. And he said, hey, don't say nothing. Don't let nobody know I was here. It's the same thing. There's no need for me to go to the club. I'm definitely not saving nobody if I'm going to the club. They're there not in any way coming to receive. They're there to do blasphemy, or wherever it may be.
Yeah.
There's a time and a place for everything. But I thought that was very important to comment as business owners, especially as loan originators, that concept of faith and how it works.
Appreciate you adding that, man. It's good.
No, I appreciate that. We're about to wrap it up. I think faith is really important. It molds us not only in our personal life, it will wrap around our business life.
Yeah.
Right. And being a loan originator is a business, but we also have higher goals always. You're mentioning you want to be, a visionary in the sense of education, right? You want to be a resource for people, and that's a lot of responsibility. Faith molds you to know how to meet that requirement for all. So can you tell me a little bit more, if you feel comfortable, why do you believe in God? And then besides why you believe in God, what confirms that belief? That'd be really powerful for everyone listening.
Man, that's so good, man. So I grew up in the church, but I've not always been a Christian, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I left the church and I went my own way and did my own thing and ran as far as I could. But the things that were sown into me by my parents, like I couldn't deny. And even as far as I went, there's certain things I wouldn't do. I wouldn't take the Lord's name in vain. I wouldn't, no GDs and this and that. I knew, I've always known that God exists. And what informs me of that is I look around, we have dogs, and I'm sitting there playing with my dogs, and I look at the perfection that's in just, if you look at animals and how they interact and they have their own way of communicating and all, and you go, man, I see God right there. I see God when I see the sunsets. We're here in the country and we have the beautiful sunsets, and you see the way every sunset literally is like a fingerprint. They're all different.
Yeah.
And you look at that and you go, man, they're finding new galaxies every day. As far as they compare into space with that telescope, they're like, we're just scratching the surface. There's no end that they can find to it. That's God. I'm not saying that the universe is not God. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I see evidence of God all around me. I can't deny that. There's no question, right? When my kids were born, you see that. And man creates, man procreates, but man doesn't create. All we're doing is building everything that's been made, everything that's been found in the earth, everything that we see is like, that's a new invention. It's really not. Lithium batteries, there's lithium in the earth. We just discovered it. That's all we did. We're discovering what he laid there. Right?
We're using what's already there. We're building around materials that already existed. So we're not really creators.
We're not creators. If creativity, it comes from God. It's inspired by him. Artists inspired by him.
He said he created us in his image. People think it's like a physical thing, but it's actually all the intangible things about a human. It is creativity. It is love. It is forgiveness. It is the desire to be better. It is the desire to be loved back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything you can't see, everything that an animal doesn't have. That's what makes us God's image. A lot of people don't know that. I just want to throw that in there. All the intangible things.
That's good.
Is what makes you like God.
Here's another thing that makes us like God. So the other day, my son and I, we cut the grass, and our home sits on over an acre. It's a lot. Got to get a riding mower and the whole thing. And so, it's nice. And then when you cut it, you're like, man, I wish I had a small yard.
It's like a 2-day job.
100%. And so we cut it, and we sat back and we're sweating, and we looked at it, and I go, looks good, don't it? And he's like, yeah, it looks good. And I go, you know what? That's what God did. Like in the beginning when he made everything, he goes,
that's exactly it. Yep.
And it was good. That's a God thing. He put it in us, like a job well done, the satisfaction of it. So it's not like what inspires me to believe in God. Everything, literally everything. I can't think of one thing that doesn't, right? I don't remember the second part of your question now.
Yeah, you just went over, what makes you have confirmation that your faith is real. The first part of the question was, why do you believe? You concluded like, these are the affirmations around me that give me evidence. But what makes you go to that direction? It's in the first place. Like, why do you believe in God?
Yeah.
Or maybe let me rephrase it. Yeah. What you mentioned, you were raised in the church, but then you wanted to find your own identity, the prodigal son. I could do this better myself. I think there's a better way this could be done. Give me my inheritance. Give me my self-identity, and let me go figure this out. You went out to the world, and you came back. What brought you back? What reinstated your faith? Why do you believe? That's what I meant.
Because as many mistakes as I've made, and there's been a lot, as many times have I've done some stupid things that I could say, man, why did I do that? And everybody else turned their back, but he never turned his back. He just always welcomed me with arms wide open. Come back. It's like the prodigal son, like you said, the story, that parable. I don't even think it's a parable. I think it's a true story because
it's happened somewhere. That's for sure.
It happened. It's happened so many times.
It's happening right now somewhere in Las Vegas.
Exactly. 100%. But that story, you have the way he comes to himself, and it's the way I came to myself. To answer your question, he found himself in a pigsty which is the total opposite of what a good Jewish boy should be doing. He shouldn't be in with the pigs. They don't eat pork. You know that. He's not only with the pigs. He's like, man, I want some of this pig food because I'm hungry. And it's like, it finally hits him. Dude, what am I doing? I can go back to my father's house. It's good over there. There's peace over there. There's good food over there. And even the servants eat better than this. I'm going to go back over there. I don't care what position he gives me. I don't care if he gives me a slave position. I'd rather be a slave at my dad's house than to be out here doing this. That's what brought me back. After a while, like there's being out in a club, doing a thing, drinking a thing, smoking a thing. It gets real old after a while. And then you realize you compare it to, okay, I was with my father. This is what it was. And I was out here doing this, and this is what it, there's no comparison. And so that's what brought me back.
That's amazing. You reiterating the prodigal son about him going to being with the pigs and eating with the pigs. It's amazing because you reveal here two things to me. You reveal one, he's at his lowest low. When he was used to being in a very respectable, people admired him, really comfortable position from bad choices. But we also see here, you said he's with the pigs and then he's eating just like the pigs. Here you see the power of the people you surround yourself with, you become. I never seen that until you were just saying that. I was like, wow, wait. His bad choices, yes, led him to being where he's at now. But also, he now becomes what he's around. He's eating what pigs eat because he's now hanging around with the pigs.
Boom. It's good. But here's the other thing you see is if we will just go, you know what? I'm going the wrong direction. I'm going to turn back to the Father. He will always receive us. But it goes back to the choice thing that you were talking about. It's our choice. It's not his choice. He already made his choice. I'll accept you. But we have to make our choice to turn.
A lot of people question, can I receive forgiveness, more than once, or is forgiveness forever? Is forgiveness, and at the end of the day, the Bible, right? We get confirmation from our brothers and sisters that, right, that we know have great, strong testimony with the Lord, but we also go back to Scripture, and the Scripture we see again and again and again, whether Old Testament, New Testament, it's always about the intention of the heart.
Yeah.
Number one. So, like you said, if he just simply proposed in his heart to return to his father from the beginning, he never would have suffered as much as he did. Because he ended up proposing that in his heart at one point, he was able to be restored. It was the same thing. There was a prayer of a high priest and then a prayer of a sinner on two hills. If you remember what scripture I'm talking about, both were praying for forgiveness. One was using elaborative words, in today's world, we'll call them a professor, really articulative, theologian, and, knows way more than me. And this guy over here, just regular old Joe, just crying, saying, God, I'm worthless. I'm sorry. Forgive me.
Yeah.
Just repeating the same words with anguish. And the other one, doing this big projection, this big artistic flow, trying to impress. And God heard the simple man.
Yeah.
Because in his heart, he wanted to show it all. While the other guy wanted to still show some art. I still have dignity, though. I did wrong, but I'm still dignified. I'm not that guy. I'm better than him. I messed up. God doesn't like that. God likes the person who intentionally in his heart seeks him. And we see that with the prodigal son. You nailed it on the head that when he finally realized in his heart, man, I need to just go back. Just whatever happens, happens. But I know even at worst case, same thing for those of us or whoever's listening, you feel like you're departed from God, that if you went back, people would make fun of you. People think you're a hypocrite. People think you're worthless. Or maybe you think those things about yourself. That is not true. You need to be like the prodigal son. That's why the story was spoken by Jesus, why he gave us the parable of the two prayers. And while you're breathing, you have opportunity.
That's good.
To seek God and to not seek God. This where we live is practicing what we'll live in eternity. So if you're constantly seeking God and being pure in heart in him, you will rest in him and pure in heart. If you want to be away from God, that's all you're going to have. People talk about hell. It's just away from the presence of God. And unfortunately, the voidness of God, which is by definition goodness, is badness.
Yeah.
It's not a torturement. It's literally, his essence is just good and joy. If you void that, this is the only outcome. It's nothing.
So I'm going to add one thing to that. You remember the show Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Yes.
Okay. So think about it like this. In Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, you have these questions that get varying levels of difficulty. The higher you go, it gets more. In the beginning, it's like, which football team is in Dallas?
Sure.
Is it the Giants? Or is it the Cowboys? And it's the Cowboys. Congratulations. But as you get to the higher questions, it becomes more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And so you get a chance. You can reach out for a lifeline.
Yes.
You can, reach out to a friend. You can do this and that. But the thing that gets me is they always say, it's like, okay, I think it's B. And they go, final answer? And they go, final answer. And until they say final answer, it's not locked in.
That's right.
And the thing that you're saying, like, we can turn until that arc door shuts and there's no more opportunity to turn. And whatever we locked in here is our final answer. And that will be locked in for eternity, whichever way we go. And that's another thing. It's like the fear of the Lord. It's a good thing, healthy. Like, man, this is real. Like, we only get one way around this planet, and that's it, and it's over. And it's short. If we go to 80 years, we go to 90 years, it's still short. I'm already halfway there. I'm looking at it like that. You know what I'm saying? At a certain point, this is going to be over, and whatever I locked in, it's going to be locked in.
Yeah, you just stay locked in. I mean, you could just keep talking about the Lord and just so many things. Like you mentioned, having to feel the Lord. A lot of people misconstrue so many things, and they're like, you shouldn't be afraid of God. Like, why would he create you to be afraid of him? But don't you understand that you're being a hypocrite when you say that? Because if you love your wife, for example, or your husband, if your spouse, it's the same fear as being put in a position with a promiscuous person, or maybe being in an area where you'll be tempted. Why would you put yourself in that?
Yeah.
Why would you put yourself in a maybe, or it could, or it's the same fear of respect. That's what we mean by fear, is we fear the Lord in the sense that we want to honor him with all of our being, that we don't want even a centimeter of us to be disrespectful or unaligned with glorifying him. The same way that you want to respect your wife, you understand where situations can perhaps disrespect her or disrespect him unintentionally. You're not even gonna allow that to be a construct. Yep. So I just want to throw that in there. Is a lot of people I've seen say, why are you afraid of God? That he's all loving. There's so many things that get misconstrued, but again, it comes to the intention of the heart.
Intention of the heart.
And there's people that say, oh, well, if I'm doing wrong, like, can I ask for forgiveness and I get away with it? Again, the intention of the heart. God, don't come to me for the answer. You answered it yourself. If you're trying to play this back and forth, the answer is you know the answer. But if it's an intent, only that person will know if it's an intentional repentance, whether it will raise to God's presence and him receive, that anguish and that repentance. So everything comes back to the intention of the heart. That's pretty much everything I have for today. Is there any questions or any other ideas you would like to share, Andre?
I just want to say to you, I think you should do this again and again and again and again. And I think that you're going to become even, right now, look at you and the way you present yourself. I just want to say for those listening who know Emanuel, he is the reason why I was really happy to do this is because I respect him. You're very professional in your approach, very knowledgeable. We've been doing this around the same amount of time, but you know things I don't know. And I was like, man, I want to pick this guy's brain. So I can't recommend you enough, man. I want to say just really proud of you and what you're doing here. Keep it going.
That means a lot, Andre. Thank you. All right, everyone.
All right.
If you'd like to follow Andre, again, he is a licensed loan officer in many states, including Florida and Texas, many more to come. He is also a mentor. So if you're a loan officer looking for someone with guidance that can help you take your career off, help you understand things better, structure loans, make sure you reach out to him. We're going to put his, Instagram handle or whatever social media he prefers in the description and also on this video somewhere around here. Make sure you follow and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.